Thank you for being here. Good evening, everybody. This is our resilience talk tonight about climate and special edition about communities. I'm extremely glad that we can welcome Davie Philip. He's really a very gentle person. I've seen him facilitating a number of meetings in ECOLISE, the European network of communities on sustainable development and resilience, where Sal is involved too. And when I got his biography, I was really very surprised because he has had at least one, or I would say more former lives. 30 years ago, he has been a professional skateboarder, and then he opened a skateboard clothing business where he won also an award. He went traveling, he studied anthropology, then he settled in Ireland. Then he created, he is a founding member of Fiesta, which is a foundation on economics of sustainability. So that was about 20 years ago. There is so much more to say, but because he has really done a lot of things, but he has settled now in Ireland, where he co-created an eco-village project called, I probably do not express it the right way, Cloughjordan. You will express it better, Davie, when you give your talk, where more than 100 adults and over 30 children are living. And I think a part of the presentation is about that really exciting project. I'm very glad we have some people with us tonight who are working on eco-village ideas also for Luxembourg. What I can also say is that as we are the transition hub from Luxembourg, Davie is one of the founding members. He's one of those people who really put the ground for the creation of the transition movement. And maybe at some point, Davie, you might give us also a story about how that went in the past. He is presently also Vice President of ECOLISE, and that's where we basically met. So I could go on for hours probably, but I will give you the floor, Davie. Thank you very much.
Okay, Nori, thank you. And thanks everyone for coming. I'm Scottish, although I live in Ireland, so I can end up speaking very fast, but I'm going to really try to slow down for the translation. And I'm just going to share my screen now. And let's see. So as Nori said, yes, I'm very interested in resilience. I've been probably looking at resilience as a frame for my work since 2004. So just quickly, where Nori asked for a story on the transition connection, as many of you will know, transition actually started in Ireland and Kinsale in about 2005-ish, before Rob Hopkins moved to Totnes, and with Naresh really put the structure of the network, the transition network and the transition movement. But I had worked with Rob for maybe 8 years before that 2005, different events, looking at sustainability. And Rob was even one of the original members of our ecovillage project. We went two ways. Rob set up in south of Ireland, and we came to the Midlands of Ireland. So there's a little connection there. And Nori, we have met briefly because ECOLISE had a General Assembly in Luxembourg, and I came for that. And you were very generous in lending us your facilitation equipment, which I was very jealous of. I'm always jealous of people with really good facilitation toolkits. So I work as the resilience manager at Cultivate, which is a workers' cooperative that's been going for 20 years, really looking at sustainability and community resilience. And then for the last 6 or 7 years, been involved in ECOLISE, been on the council for at least the last 5 years, and currently one of its co-presidents. So that's my introduction. I really want to talk about resilience and strengthening community resilience. And I know as you as an audience will have a lot of knowledge on this. So I'm hoping to do quite a short presentation and then take questions that might be more relevant to where you're coming from. But let's put some context in place. So we are in a time of climate breakdown. We are facing an ecological emergency, and we're in a pandemic where the cascades of challenges that are going to come from this pandemic, an economic crisis, is going to be really challenging. So there's the context we're operating in. Margaret Wheatley had a great quote I always liked: whatever the problem, community is the answer. And I do think that strengthening the ability of our communities to cope with challenges, to be able to flourish and move forward in a healthier way, I think is at the heart of what the transition movement's about, and the whole idea of a more regenerative approach to sustainability. So community resilience, this picture behind the words community resilience, this is what happened last year when in Ireland it snowed for a day. We're not used to that, and suddenly the supermarket shelves were empty, and it really showed how vulnerable we are to long supply chains and a dependence on a global economy, and the need to sort of relocalize in a way that would be healthier, would give us more secure livelihoods, would make our communities and places more vibrant places. So let's just look at what we mean by resilience. I suppose from a personal point of view, we understand resilience as our ability to deal with trauma, tragedy, all kinds of threats. If we get knocked down, we get back up again. So from a personal point of view, resilience is about our bounce back ability. When we take that to a community level, community resilience is about developing and engaging our community and identifying the assets and resources in our community so that we can thrive in an environment that's really characterized now by change, uncertainty, unpredictability, and surprise. And this is more than our parents and our grandparents have probably faced. We face more challenges. And the academic term now is VUCA. We've entered a VUCA world where volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity are at the forefront. So with community resilience, we're really looking at the ability of a community to cope with stress, to overcome adversity, and adapt to the challenges that are coming at us fast. And really, we can't look at it as a bounce back ability. We need to see this now as a potential catalyst to break through into a new way of being, not bouncing back to a way that was unfair, unjust, unsustainable, unhealthy. Let's take the opportunity of these times to catalyze the transformation we really need. And four of the aspects I've identified in other work that I've done, I'll show you where in a second. Four aspects is that we need healthy and engaged people for community resilience. We need an inclusive, creative local culture that is shaping a positive, welcoming sense of place, that we have a knowledge of our place and a stronger sense of place. And a localizing economy that sustains us for our essentials, our food, our energy, our water, and our housing, and other things, and not this dependency on the long supply chains of the global economy. And of course, and we've seen this in transition a lot, we need links, strong links to other communities and other places. The localization agenda isn't just one that will make sure our community is okay, but it's one of solidarity with others in other places, in other countries. So I did some work with Carnegie. We had a community practice over a decade ago where we explored this concept of community resilience and published a pamphlet, and also working in a project, Schools for Resilience, a European project, where we were looking at strengthening the sense of community in place for teenagers. And some of the things that I pulled out from that work is that it needs to be collaborative. We need to be looking at an asset-based, place-based approach. We need to be community-led, so bottom-up from the grassroots. We need to be more systemic, busting silos and seen more holistically. And it needs to be transformative. So one of the tools that we did that we developed in Carnegie was just a little simple mapping approach where you would get people to observe and work in their own communities to see where they were around the people. So you see in the healthy and engaged people that you can look at the different stages of where we might be there. You mark down your economy, a localizing economy. Are we fragile? Are we stable? Are we enterprising? Our culture, this creative culture, hospitable culture, a sense of place and belonging. You know, so we use this in a number of different ways with people observing where their community was, and then maybe over time redrawing that map and seeing where we are. But I'm just trying to give you a sense of the different dimensions that I see in the sort of community resilience. I made a little film also probably over a decade ago, which is on YouTube, called Surfing the Waves of Change. And it really uses the metaphor of surfing, which, because of that was my background, I really like it, the idea of flow, and that we actually learn to surf the waves of change and not just flounder around in the white water. We can actually take the opportunities of these times and really capture this moment. So that's worth watching in the future. But I wanted to do a little case study. Normally I would do maybe look at a number of things we're doing here in the EcoVillage, but showing that all communities can do these. Now for this audience, you probably know quite a lot of these, but let's start with something that's essential, which is this sense of community. So our EcoVillage isn't really an eco-village in the sense it's a neighborhood in an existing very traditional village with very traditional things like churches and museums. So we have it's only a small village, but it allows us as an eco-village, as an eco-neighborhood, to be much more connected and to have more impact in actually mainstreaming these concepts than staying marginal and fringe. If you're a permaculturalist, you'll understand the necessity, importance of that. So with a community-led initiative, we're modeling the transition to a resilient and low-carbon society. And at the heart of what we're doing is nurturing this sense of belonging, sense of place. And John O'Donoghue, the famous Irish philosopher, says the hunger to belong is at the heart of what we're doing. And if we turn away from that, we turn in ourselves. So how important it is for community building is that sort of appreciation of place and appreciation of the diversity of the people around us. So we're also at the same time prototyping the organizational changes that will be needed, not just the eco houses and the renewable energy and the sustainable urban drainage and reed beds and these sort of things, but the actual ways that we make decisions, the way we organize, that will make any community more resilient and with the ability to adapt if we can work together, make decisions together. And it's probably the weakest thing, or the thing that's most challenging in our movements, is working with people that often are very difficult. How do we have the systems in place that allow us to move forward together? So that's one of the other things we're doing here. This is just a quick overview to show you the diversity of our eco neighborhood. At the bottom of the picture, you can see the town of Cloughjordan, but you can see the different things we've got in place: a community-supported agriculture project, the largest in Ireland, research gardens, allotments, a large community amphitheatre, a neighbourhood, a community woodlands, edible landscapes around the houses, a number of businesses, a large enterprise centre, an energy centre distributing hot water generated from sustainably, an eco-hostel, car clubs. But that's not the point. I just want to show you the diversity of what we're doing here. So our president, a very radical president, his speech is on YouTube if you can find it, that he made here, which he mentions the Global Ecovillage Network and how important this work is. He says that the vision of sustainable living is clearly be put into practice here. And it brings to mind the great Irish saying, great achievements only come through cooperation. And the case study, the examples I'm going to give are really new forms, not that new to us now, but new forms to the majority of cooperatives and a cooperative approach to meeting our needs. So how do we build resilience in all communities? Just taking some examples from Cloughjordan. Food's a convivial act. The more we can eat together, the more social capital we'll build. And we're also now realizing how important a good diet is for our immune system, for our health. And so food's really essential. In Ireland, we've had, over the last 3 or 4 years, a huge movement called GIY, grow it yourself. So more and more people are seeing the benefits of putting your hand in the soil and growing food, and a sense of resilience because you can look after yourself. What I'm interested in, though, is how we grow together. And again, we've seen the rise of community gardens here, and we've about 7 CSA projects, community supported agriculture. And I visited your CSA in Luxembourg, which was very impressive. So you know what community supported agriculture is. It's just a subscription model that links our community with the citizens or consumers better. There's so many benefits of this. We're talking about food meters rather than food miles for us, as our food is produced at the top of the ecovillage. And then on the main street of Cloughjordan, we have a stone building where twice a week we have distribution. So today was a distribution day for us. Now, the advantages of this for, say, a farmer is a farmer doesn't have to waste a couple of days at farmer's market trying to sell the produce after a busy week. They are producing for the community and don't have to think about negotiating with a supermarket or standing in the farmer's market to get sell the produce. So there's so many advantages of this subscription model. In Cloughjordan, we also have it for milk, eggs, mushrooms. We have clubs for these. And we also have a bread club because we've got one of the best bakers in Ireland located in the ecovillage with a wood-fired oven, rye bakehouse and bread school, making sourdough breads. His vision, the baker, is to be village scale. Why can't a baker and any business in the village be at this scale? If he went to get support from our government, he'd be encouraged to export his bread or grow his business rather than staying small and building a scale over community. So I'm just showing these as a different model to build food resilience, which is connecting more with our producers. I could go further into this because right now I'm really excited about the Open Food Network, a digital open source platform that would allow us to have virtual marketplaces, a game changer before COVID-19 for local food economies, but now in COVID restrictions, an absolute necessity. The same with energy. I think we're all aware that we need to move away from fossil fuels as quickly as possible, even in the mainstream. This is now coming in. And our houses need to be energy efficient and we need to move to renewables. This is our district heating system, which produces hot water and heat for our whole community. Currently 55 houses, but 130 houses when we're finished. We also have locally to us community-owned wind turbines, the only ones in Ireland. We're a bit behind in the community energy revolution, but the potential for resilience for a community having shares and ownership of the means of generation is just huge for resilience. Not only does it give us energy security, but it could bring in much needed capital to our community from having a feed-in tariff and feeding electricity back to the grid. So we have the opportunity now for rooftop revolutions. It's in Northern Ireland where you're seeing communities coming together and putting solar panels on the roofs of community buildings, churches, streets, and again, building that sense of resilience and energy security. If you get food and energy right, then I think we're in a good position to cope with some of the bigger challenges we face. Normally I speak about a few other things, but just for time I took them out. Co-housing, so again, seeing the opportunity of building neighborhoods rather than individual house, which I'm really keen on. Really see the opportunity of huge energy savings as well as stronger social links and thinking about mutual aid in a neighborhood, but at a different scale than eco-village. So you could say our eco-village is a co-housing scheme, but we are now looking at a co-housing neighbourhood in our eco-village as another new example of cooperatives. So food cooperatives, energy cooperatives, housing cooperatives. And another thing I talk about is mobility. Again, with the sharing economy, we're well aware that, you know, a car is an asset that sits and does nothing for quite a long time. And we could be sharing assets like that, having access to the need of the car when I need it, and a bill at the end of the month like your phone for usage, rather than having to tax, maintain, insure, and all the other financial inputs that go into a car. So we start to see with the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, the green economy, the solidarity economy, a convergence that I think all strengthen resilience. It builds a stronger sense of place. However, I think the thing that we need most is jobs and livelihoods in our local areas that give us meaning and purpose in our life. And this is our enterprise center in the eco-village, which has a co-working space. We're seeing co-working emerge in cities, and there's no reason why we can't have good hubs in rural areas that offer things like co-working, again, where we share space rather than having your own office space. So community enterprise and social innovation, I think, really need to be the heart of moving forward into a more resilient, regenerative future. This is our downstairs area where we do all sorts of events every week that would, for our own community, for people and other organizations around Ireland and even Europe. So I'm just mentioning these just because these could facilitate, places like this could facilitate more an entrepreneurial or more enterprise and innovation in our local areas that would strengthen resilience. Our enterprise center has this co-working space, but also has a fab lab, which is very interesting. I won't go into too much, but digital fabrication allows us to be sharing ideas, blueprints, and plans on the internet, and then bring them into our local fab lab and being able to create and make using 3D printers or CNC routers and milling machines and laser cutters. So we have this specifically to look at sustainability and resilience, working with our farm to hack different little bits of machines, or this week we made a new seed tray to plant seeds more quickly in our fab lab. So I just think there's opportunities, new technologies that could also play a part in helping us create and maintain livelihoods in our local areas, but also build this sense of resilience. So that was really all I really wanted to say to